It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
If by live in the studio you mean that we are actually live from Knoxville Raceway at a hotel, you would be correct. There you go. Dirk didn't wake up early enough and didn't get his mic set. There. All right.
I'm just not going to talk, so I have no reason to set my mic.
2 live shows in a row that we've had issues with Dirk's microphone. The common denominator, maybe. Anyways, all right, so welcome to today's radio show. We appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Go to joeskarting.com to get more information on the Slick Track Nationals presented by Malvern.bank. That series is going to be kicking off Tuesday, October 1st over at Joe's Karting, and it's your opportunity to get involved in basically a weekly series that is going to be featuring that Slick Track racetrack. So get involved in that, joeskarting.com for more information. You can also find out more on their Facebook page. Today's show, we're going to recap the late model nationals from Knoxville Raceway. We were able to enjoy all of the festivities, the happenings, the great racing, the rain delay, the fireworks, and everything that went on at Knoxville Raceway last night. So we're going to recap that in turns 1 and 2. In turn number 3, we're going to talk with Tia Kosiski and Brandon Saltzman about the fundraiser backing Brandon. It's a spaghetti dinner and silent auction going on next Sunday, September 22nd from 4 to 8. It's a great event, and it's designed. It's to help Brandon pay for some of his expenses that he's incurred. He's taken on with his brain cancer treatment, and he's not even close to being done. And he figured he's somewhere around $500,000 with medical bills.
Yeah, past $500,000 already, and it's not over.
So that's going to be coming up in turn number 3, and then turn number 4, we're going to preview today's race at Las Vegas, and then this coming Saturday night's race at Richmond. So we've got 2 Cup Series races, the playoff races that we're going to have to preview, getting ready for today's weekend and getting you set for your picks and all sorts of great stuff like that. Once again, I want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you're going to be able to hear a majority of the show, but there are going to be portions of it you're going to want to tune into AM 590 Omaha's ESPN Radio. Dirk, this is one of those shows or one of those events that, much like the 410 Nationals, the Late Model Nationals, we don't get to be here all 3 days and experience the entire weekend, but we do get to see a little bit of a microcosm of what they've begun to build with the Late Model Nationals. I believe they talked about this was the 16th running of this race.
Yeah, I think that's what they said last night, and bringing in the SLMR cars, the Malvern Bank Series last year, and again this year, I think has really, I don't want to say, put the show over the top, because that's not quite where it is, but it's definitely been an improvement. And last year, the Malvern Bank race was the better of the 2 races. But this year, it didn't quite work out that way. And with the rollover that they had during the middle of the race, they had to carve a few laps off because of the red flag, and they were behind with the rain delay and all that other wonderful stuff. So.
Yeah, and to your point with that, with adding the Malvern Bank Series to this, Knoxville doesn't do a lot of support classes. When you've got the Race Saver Nationals at Eagle, there's a support class each night to give time for the feature drivers, the B feature transfers into the A, to give them time to work on their car, and then there's something going on the racetrack. Knoxville doesn't do that, and instead you've got 3 years ago, it was simply a C, B, and an A on the Saturday night of the championship night, and you feel a little bit shortchanged for your hard-earned dollars. You don't get to see much racing that night.
Well, and even then, they were expecting rain, so they just put the C feature cars on the back of the B feature cars.
Yeah, what would have been 3 races ago, 2 years ago, absolutely. A little over 2 years ago, really. So they've added the Malvern Bank Series, and I think it's been a fantastic addition to the series, or to the night of events. The Malvern Bank Series is, obviously, we've talked about it 100 times. It's doing a fantastic job in the area for late models. 32 cars checked in last night for the Malvern Bank Series?
Invitational.
Yep.
So they were invited, and, that's like the eventual winner. It's not like he's run the whole series this year, but he was definitely pretty dominant at the end of the race last night. He wasn't dominant all the way through, but at the end, he was the man.
Let's talk about those results from the Malvern Bank side of it all. If I could pull up my email quick enough. A great night of racing action, and it was, like I said, they were here just on Saturday night. They weren't a part of the Thursday or Friday festivities, so we actually saw a lot of them driving over this way during that massive rainstorm that ended up being what delayed the Iowa State football game.
Twice,
yes. And for time trials, Josh Leonard, who began to be my odds-on favorite to win that race, he has been incredibly fast in that one machine. Last half of this year, he won the track championship at I-80 Speedway, missed out on the Nebraska State Championship by a couple of bonus points. That ended up going to Bill Layton Jr. Josh Leonard ended up winning his time trials, finishing second in his heat race, and I believe he started on the pole, and for the first half of that race, looked like he was going to be gone.
Yeah, he was a rocket. He had it pretty much figured out. I don't know if he's ever run here before or not, but he was getting around it real good last night.
Pretty sure I heard Anthony say this was his first time at Knoxville Raceway, but we'd have to double-check on that information. The caution came out for the flip into turn one, and there was a car that it's kind of weird. It happened twice last night where the car got a little bit too high, got up over the cushion, and that nose dug into the loose stuff, which was about baseball to softball sized clumps of dirt, and then it almost pushed the car up on the side of the wall, and the car, just like it was on a half pipe, just went right over on its lid.
Just a very soft roll, but it looked like for a few seconds that the person, and again it happened a couple times last night, was going to literally try and drive the guardrail. Mm-hmm. All four tires up on the guardrail, and just really a weird deal.
Yep. After that long caution, like you mentioned as we were getting introing the show, that they ended up cutting 4 or 5 laps off of the total feature, which ended up, as far as I'm concerned, ended up kind of ruining what could have been a great race. As Jason Reuin ended up taking the race lead and walked away with it, but Tyler Bruning was tracking him down by about 2 to 3 tenths per lap. We ended up finding out later, and we'll talk about this more in depth with the race winner and second place finisher for the Lucas Oil late model feature, but aero ended up being a very, very big factor for the Lucas Oil guys. Did you see it much for the Malvern Bank guys?
Oh, yeah, it's the same deal. I mean, they're going a little bit slower, but the aero at this track, as we even discussed later on in the media center there, with when you got a track like I-80 or something with the banking, you've got a fake, almost a mechanical arrow, that's turning the car. Mm-hmm. Where on this flat beast over here at Knoxville, you don't have that.
It was really, it was fun to watch. There's no way you could, I think you could have caught it with the Dirt on Dirt broadcast. You had to be in person to watch this, but most of the time you can break a corner up by turn 1 and turn 2. Maybe entry, maybe exit, but it seemed like turn 2 almost had 3 different sections to it. And the same thing with turn 1. It was very broken up, and I think the aero was helping that a lot, to where you would see a car almost enter the corner just fine, roll through the corner, but then the aero would go away, and it'd break loose and wash up the track, and you'd see them have to get out of the throttle, and they'd be going 15, 20 miles an hour slower, and the guys behind them would just suck up so fast.
Yeah, it's not the aero going away, it's literally the air going away. And like Jimmy Owens told us later, that he goes, it's just like you're cruising along at 80 miles an hour and hit a patch of black ice.
Yeah.
You really have no control over the nose until it finds something to grab onto after it's got out of the dirty air.
What a great race, and I was really frustrated they ended up cutting off 4 or 5 of those laps for the Malvern Bank Series, because Tyler Bruning was right there on the checkered flag lap. If we'd have had those 4 or 5 laps, I think we could have watched an awesome battle for the race lead. Instead, Jason ends up picking up the win. Tyler Bruning in second. Josh Leonard settles for third. Jeff Ike ends up in fourth. Tad Pospischel in fifth. Tad ended up starting inside row number 2. Ricky Thornton Jr. Finished 6th in the Malvern Bank Series, ends up being the second car up on his lid in the Lucas Oil feature. Chad Simpson ends up finishing 7th, Kyle Burke 8th, 8th, and Scott Ward 9th. Josh Krug ended up getting the top 10. Bill Ayton Jr., I was kind of expecting to see a little bit more out of him. I think he was really struggling with that 24 car.
And he struggled here at this race last year. It's I don't know if he just doesn't like the flat track. It's definitely a little bit different drive. So, and it was most of the guys' first time here last year. So, it might take a few years to try and figure it out for some of these guys.
Alan Hopp, who ended up winning his heat race earlier in the night, and it was kind of one of those cars I was paying attention to, ended up blowing an engine during hot laps when we came back from the red flag, the long red flag for the rain delay.
And he oiled the groove down the front straightaway and oiled it, and then he turned right down into the groove into the turn, and that added about 10 or 15 minutes to that rain delay just before they got back to racing. But it was one of them things, and that track, it was fast last night. It was really fast after that rain.
Chris Speaker ended up taking home the hard charger, started 32nd on the tail end of the field and came home at 15th, so good job for him with that hard charger run. I hope they continue to have the Malvern Bank Series as a part of that, because I think that that Mobile Tech 22 race is very it adds a little bit of more of excitement, adds a little bit more to the night, and I think the late model fans that come for the Lucas Oil guys have become pretty accustomed to seeing the Malvern Bank Series as a part of this schedule.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people I know that thought with Tad Pospisil starting on the outside of the front row after winning the race last year that it was probably going to be a foregone conclusion, but he didn't quite have the right setup in the car last night. He stayed up front, finished top 5, so not a bad run, but I don't think it was what he was expecting starting on the front row.
Yeah, and thanks for that correction. With Alan Hopp's DNF did not start, DNS, he was supposed to start, I believe, outside pole position in the second spot. That moved Tad Pospisil, who was scheduled to start third. Everybody moved up one position. It wasn't they moved the outside row up like you would see a lot in the weekly racing action. They moved everybody in the starting position, shuffled it all around, all throughout the field. So Chris Speaker actually ended up starting 31st as Alan Hopp didn't start the race. And a tough break for him late in the year and blowing an engine like that. I know he's had some ups and downs, but I've been kind of impressed with his runs this year. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back in turn number 2. We're going to talk more about the should we take a break, or do you want to finish Lucas Oil Late Model, talking about that race a little bit?
We should probably take a break, then we can come back with that. And
come back and then play the audio from the interviews.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 2. We're going to recap the Lucas Oil Late Model feature just a little bit, and then we're going to hear from our winner and second place finisher. Oh, before we do that, let's do a quick trivia question. You had one that you'd brought up. This is for a family 4-pack of tickets to the Monster Jam show at the CHI Health Center in Omaha. What used to be known as the CenturyLink, what used to be known as the Quest Center, and I think that's so those are going on early October. Again, 402-573-0590 is the phone number to call for this question. You know the answer to this one.
Yeah, they last night Jimmy Owens brings home the Late Model Nationals as a repeat winner, back-to-back repeat winner. Before Jimmy Owens did it the last 2 years, who was the last back-to-back winner of the Knoxville Late Model Nationals?
402-573-0590. Jimmy Owens became the latest back-to-back features winners for the Lucas Oil Late Models. Who was the last one to do it? Not Jimmy Owens. Who was the last one to do it? It's been pretty recent, too, which you reminded me. I'd forgotten all about that. 402-573-0590. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Defending NASCAR champ Joey Logano is in. Last year's race winner Chase Elliott is in. Pit crews racing against the clock in. Truex Jr., Keselowski, and Kyle Busch in, and in. Oh, and sports fans who live for the playoffs, they're all in. The Hollywood Casino 400 Playoff Elimination Race at Kansas Speedway, Sunday, October 20th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. You in?
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and Malvern Bank present the first annual Slick Track Series starting October 1st. Running each Tuesday in October, November, January, and February, you'll have a chance at nightly winter hardware, free races from Joe's Karting, and of course, a white knuckle and good time. First place wins $500 plus a 1-year VIP membership. A full schedule, payouts, and requirements can be found at joeskarting.com. The Malvern Bank Slick Track Series only at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
402-573-0590. We're still waiting for our trivia winner for a family 4-pack of tickets to go see Monster Jam at the CHI Health Center in Omaha in about 3 weeks. 402-573-0590. Jimmy Owens became the latest back-to-back winner for the Lucas Oil Late Model Nationals at Knoxville Raceway, who was the previous two-time winner, back-to-back winner of the Lucas Oil Late Model feature for the Late Model Nationals. 402-573-0590. Dirk, this race started out much like they do with the 410 Nationals. It's half the race. They take a break. They do a refueling session. And then go back out and run it again. I thought this was going to be just frankly, an S show as, dang it, I'm forgetting his name once again.
Shane Clanton.
Thank you, Shane Clanton. I cannot remember his name. He led the first 50 laps to that break and led a considerable amount of time on as we came back from the refueling break and had a heck of a run.
Yeah, he was very fast. Don't really know what happened to him. I mean, I don't know if the tires just cooled off during that time and he wasn't able to keep them up, but he just kind of started dropping and ended up dropping out of the race, with about 25, 30 laps to go, somewhere in there, with a broken axle is what was announced. But when he started dropping, I don't know if the axle had already broken and he was just trying to diagnose it as he was driving or what was going on, but he never came in on any of the cautions, and they were plentiful into the work area. He just, when he decided to pull off, he just went ahead and went straight to the trailer.
First 55 laps led by Shane Clanton, and then to what we were talking about, Chris Madden, who had a pretty good battle with Clanton for a couple of laps, was able to get the race lead away, and he led for the next about 12 laps. And then Brandon Shepard took over the race and started to pull away. He had some issues with some lap traffic, and Jimmy Owens was able to get by. Those guys had an amazing battle for the last 10 laps. Really fun to watch. And that's really when you begin to notice when they would have these longer green flag runs, and the arrow, you would really begin to see the arrow come into effect because of lap traffic.
Yes, and I mean, when we talked to Brandon, and you'll hear it in the interview, he admitted, he goes, I made a mistake. and he was really driving it hard those last 8 or 10 laps when he was, got moved back to second place. I wonder how many cars he actually passed last night.
Yeah.
Because, like he said, he goes, every restart I'd get shuffled back 3 or 4 spots. It'd take a couple, lap or two for my car to come in, then I'd go back forward. And, he went from 10th or 11th to the front 2 or 3 different times. But like he said, it was his own mistake that ended up costing him the race. And, we saw him at the Silver Dollar Nationals a couple of years ago win the last chance race and come out and start tail end Charlie on the field and finish with a second place run in the Silver Dollar. So we know the guy's got some talent.
Oh, yeah, and a great run this year at the Silver Dollar Nationals. I was really pulling for him because it seems like he gets so close to picking up a race win, and then something happens at the end and somebody else steals it away from him. Good run for him, and it was a lot of fun to watch that battle. I was noticing, and I don't think I'm being anything prolific here, but turn 2 was pretty treacherous for these guys.
Oh yeah, the bottom line would seem fast for 8 or 10 laps, and then it seemed like it would just go away, and you'd see the guys, getting real loose, trying to get out of 2 off the bottom, and then on the top you'd see, the same thing. It seemed like they'd go really well for 8 or 10 laps, and then start getting loose on top. Have no idea what caused that, but we saw a lot of cars and almost a lot of accidents coming out too on the high side because guys would get loose and somebody'd have a big run on them, and it about got ugly a couple times.
Yeah, but a fun race to watch, and I was really happy that the action seemed to pick up later on in the race. Early in that first 50 laps, there was a couple of cautions. You never really saw much lap traffic. You couldn't really see much of the arrow as far as the leader was concerned, but you could see it farther back in the pack, which is the reason why you go to the racetrack and not watch it on a broadcast service, because they're only able to watch 1 or 2 positions at a time at best. Maybe a battle for second or a battle for fourth, but you can't see the pack of cars that are back there in 10th really doing slide jobs and really leaning on each other a little bit.
Well, I spent most of my night watching Owens come from, I think he started 18th, and I think Bobby Pierce was 19th, and I was trying to watch those 2 guys come through the field, and Pierce was really struggling. Ended up breaking a rear end, which, again, might have been causing him some of his problems the whole race before it actually, I don't know if it actually grenaded or whatnot, but it was on one of the restarts, he just didn't go, and he ended up pulling off down to the inside. And that might have been that 30-lap to go restart. He was running about 10th, I think, at that point. But the first 15 laps, I think that's when the first caution come out, was 15 laps in, and Jimmy Owens had moved from 18th, I think, to 11th already, but he was just real patient. He got shuffled back on one restart, and I think he was restarting like 8th, and they went around the first circuit, and when they came back to the flag stand, he was like 14th. Mm-hmm. And but he just stayed with it. He had a plan. You saw a lot of guys, again, you saw a few guys dedicated to the bottom, man. They went down there and they stayed there. They did not get off. They had the left front tire on the berm on the inside, and then you had the majority of the guys up against the berm on the outside, which, as Jimmy Owens said, thanks to that rain delay and repacking the track, that berm, that cushion was very small. Mm-hmm. He said you really had to be careful, and we saw several guys that did jump it, and that's like what happened to Jason Wallace with his roll and what happened to Ricky Thornton Jr. They jumped that cushion, and, it didn't turn out too good.
Yep, and again, can't say it enough. Great night of racing action. I thought the last 30 or 40 laps was really what made that race for me. It was fun to watch as the lap traffic began to be a factor. Some of the guys dropped off. I was really, and maybe I do this every year, I'm just surprised at the amount of cautions. I mean, we would go 6, 8, 12 laps caution, 10 laps caution. And I was kind of irritated with the number of cars that kept coming into the hot pits and working on their cars. I mean, I think Scott Bloomquist basically changed his entire car because every time there was a caution, he would be in the back, so it wouldn't matter. It's not like he was giving up a ton of positions, and that's a 100-lap feature. So you're just basically doing everything you can those first 50 laps to get your car right, and then you go out there and race for the last 50.
Well, and that's what Hudson O'Neal did, and that's what he said. He made that stop and did an adjustment with 56 laps to go, 6 laps before the halfway stop, and he said that made his night. He said he went and started on the back, but ended up on the podium just because of that one adjustment.
And I didn't get the audio from our interview with Hudson O'Neal, but exactly like you said, it was really that car came to life after that last adjustment, just before the pit stop, and he knew he had something there. He just needed to be patient and work his way through the field. He started 16th, ended up finishing 3rd. Brandon Shepard, who led for a little bit of this race, started 9th, ended up finishing 2nd. And here's what Bishop had to say about his run through the field. Talking with second place, Brandon Shepard. Man, you had a heck of a run out there. Led for a couple of laps. Jimmy Owens was able to wrestle the lead away from you, but you really gave him a good run the last 10 laps.
Yeah, I made a couple mistakes in lap traffic there, and that was just what lost me the race. I got shuffled back on a couple restarts early in the night and had to come back up through the field, and that definitely didn't help me any, having to run my stuff a lot harder than I wanted to. I would get up to 3rd and then get shuffled back 7th. Get up to 3rd again, get shuffled back 7th again, and finally we were able to get the lead there, and, just, like I said, made one bad move in lap traffic and cost me.
Seemed like you guys talked about in the press conference that aero was huge, and lap traffic could be very detrimental if they didn't hold their line, they slid up in front of you, whatnot.
Yeah, the aerodynamics here is just, it's crazy just because we're going so fast and the track's flat. There's no banking to hold you. So if somebody cuts across your nose or if you run in too close behind somebody, your car feels like it lifts off the ground and just, takes a shove towards the outside wall because it's, you just lose the air off the whole deck and everything of the car, and it feels like all 4 wheels come off the ground. So it's definitely crazy here, and you got to think, you got to race really smart, and you got to race, you got to keep in mind to stay out of people's air and keep your own, keep your nose clean of everybody else's bad air. So it's definitely tricky, but it's a lot of fun.
At that halfway break for the fuel, if you had something you could have changed, was there a small tweak you would have done?
Honestly, I don't think so. My car was really, really good tonight. Like I said, I just made one bad move in lap traffic, and that's what cost me the race. I think I had the fastest car. I came from 10th like twice to the lead, and then lost it, and then one thing led to another, and it was I sold some aero. That's probably the most fun I've had in a race car in a long time. It was, it's definitely intense here. You can get winded and get wore out, and you got to have a lot of heart, and it's a lot of fun to race here. Like I said, that's probably the most fun I've had in a while in a race car for sure. But definitely wish I would have did a little bit different in lap traffic there, and hopefully maybe it would have been a different outcome. But congratulations to Jimmy and Hudson. They did a really good job, and come back again next year.
Well, you put on a heck of a show for the fans, so appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And he really did. I thought him and Jimmy put on a heck of a show for those last 10 laps, that battle with them. And, and that's what you really hope for coming to the end of these races, is that there's a couple of guys that have saved their stuff enough and they could really go at it. And that's exactly what Jimmy and Brandon did. I was really disappointed. I was really pulling for Brandon because I don't think I've ever seen him in victory lane. We only get to see him 3 times a year with the Go 50, the Silver Dollar Nationals, and then the Lucas Oil Late Model Nationals, and he's been so close so many times, but it just seems to come up too short.
Well, and he even mentioned that when he was actually doing the interview for Dirt on Dirt. He goes, I finished second. He goes, I don't finish second that often, but when I do, it's to Jimmy Owens.
Yeah, and most of the time when I finish second, Jimmy Owens is the guy that won the race. And he'll come over and he said, whenever I'm racing World of Outlaws and I got a hot streak going, Jimmy comes over and whips on me and ends the streak.
Yeah.
And they had contact earlier in the night. I think Brandon was leading the race, and Jimmy pulled a slide job, and Jimmy felt like he was clear, and Brandon didn't feel like he was clear, and Jimmy just slid up in front of him, and Brandon gave him a shot in the rear end, and
and 3 and 4.
During the caution that came out after that, Brandon showed him, hey, you're number 1. Without the index finger.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of slide jobs. I mean, I was noticing Bobby Pierce. He followed Hudson O'Neal for about 5 laps and just couldn't do anything with him. O'Neal didn't make a mistake, so Bobby just drove it to the bottom in turn 1 and slid him in turn 2. But, I mean, cleared him easily. It wasn't anything malicious, didn't body slam him or anything like that. And he did the same thing Pierce did the same thing to Jonathan Davenport.
Yeah.
As he ran him down and just could not get by him, and after 3 or 4 laps, said enough of this. And the interesting body slam of the night actually came from the leader, but
I forgot all about that.
Bloomquist and Owens going into turn 1, and he's going to put Bloomquist a lap down. Like I said, Scott struggled all night. He did not know where he was at for some reason. Very unusual for him to struggle as bad as he did. And
his other car, driven by Chris Madden, had a very good night.
Well, he actually led part of the race there. And but Bloomquist kind of drove down onto Owens going into turn 1 and really took a funny bounce and got up over that little berm and almost ended up being another car on his lid. But he did a 30 or 40 feet on the left side tires, and he was nowhere near the guardrail yet, but he saved it and come back down, and I'm sure he, took a deep breath and got her back in gear and took off. So.
Yeah, and I don't blame Owens for that move at all. I don't think it was overly aggressive. I think it was exactly what the doctor called for, because you could really lose some time when you were too much of a nice guy and you lifted to not make contact with the lap traffic, and then all of a sudden we're back to that arrow conversation to where, depending on where they were at, they could pull that arrow off your nose, and it would take you what should have been a corner to get by him. It might take you 2 or 3 laps, and before you know it, there goes the second place, and you're now second place watching somebody else lead.
Yeah, well, when you think about it that way, that's only because the guy in second place decided to do the slide job before you did.
Right, absolutely. So let's go over and we talk to Jimmy Owens. Always love talking to Jimmy. He's a very calm, cool, collect guy, and I tried to give him a little bit of a hard time. I don't know if he thought it was funny or if he just didn't react or if it's typically me and it wasn't that funny. But
well, they did give him a little bit of a hard time in victory lane when evidently he says more gooder a lot.
Yeah, I guess so. But we talked to Jimmy and said, during his pre-race interview, he seemed to be very worked up, unlike himself.
Well, we had a long way to go, and I was going to have to be patient, but was going to have to hurry because I'd actually wanted to get a lot further up through there before the rain because I was expecting it to get rained out.
The guys up in the booth, James Essex and Tony Bachhoven, as you were pulling into victory lane, were wondering if it was your patience, your car, or that fresh stick of gum that got you to victory lane.
A little bit of both, all the above. We had good car, good patience, and we got a little antsy a time or two there in lap traffic. I know we was talking about getting into Scott there, and I just I'd misjudged. I got a run on him coming off 4 there, and I done committed, and I was hoping he wouldn't come on down, and he did. So we bumped a little bit, and I think I got Scott on both sides this weekend. I got him on the right side going in there, and it was coming off turn 2 there, and a car broke in front of me, and I was trying to miss that car and met him halfway, and it was big.
I told him Scott got up on 2 wheels there, and he wasn't watching the mirror.
Yeah, we wasn't watching the mirror there, but we was in a hurry. We needed to go because I know Brandon was going to be right on our tails.
Yeah, it seemed like once you guys got into lap traffic, it was pretty treacherous out there. The racetrack was kind of hard to predict where you needed to be. The arrow would change, and your car's reaction would change.
It is. You just had to. You just couldn't mess around with him. You had to go on, and when you got behind somebody, when you get within 2 or 3 cars, a couple of cars or someone, you just automatically slow down 3/4 of a second. And so you got to start maneuvering and get out of their air so you can get your speed back and go. And it's a kind of hard thing to learn how to do, but we managed to do all right tonight.
Yeah, you got a little experience with that though, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Is this the biggest track for aero independency?
Yeah, there's a couple of big ones. Eldor is pretty big, but I don't feel like it's nothing like this place. I guess where it's flatter here and everything, Eldor's got the higher banking and everything, and there's a couple more tracks that's pretty treacherous. But here, you better hold on to your butt, buddy.
Yeah, this place doesn't have the fake arrow like I-80 Speedway or Eldora with that banking.
Yes, and that banking, it really saves your car a lot, and you ain't got nothing here to save you but a cushion.
And that cushion, it bit quite a few people that when you got too high into it, it dug that front nose into it, and then before they knew it, they were up into the wall. And sometimes, I think 2 cases in tonight for the Lucas Oil guys, they were over on their lid.
Yeah, I seen, was it Ricky Thornton Jr. up yonder on his lid, and 3 and 4 was treacherous. Got a lot of people there, and it was just a lot more carnage tonight than I felt like they should have been.
You were talking about as the season ends up that you're being a little bit more consistent, a little more satisfactory to the way you want your season to go.
Yeah, things are clicking, and we just take off real slow, and it's like I've did this long enough that we should know how to do everything, but we're constantly learning and having different issues here and there, and live and learn, I guess.
The Newport Nightmare gets it done at Knoxville for the 2nd year in a row. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Choked on the saliva that's not in my mouth right now.
Oh, I thought it was the vodka you were sucking on.
Good land. Hey, they're not supposed to talk about that. Congratulations, David Ackerson. He knew the answer to the trivia question. Who was the previous back-to-back late model nationals winner at Knoxville Raceway? Dirk?
Mr. Mike Marlar.
Yep. The first 2 years we came over for that race, he went back-to-back.
That's correct.
All right, then. Well, you really had to search the memory banks there.
Well, I mean, we've been coming over here, for, 5 years?
I don't even know.
I had to go back a long way.
Yeah, I don't even know. So congratulations, David. He's got himself a family 4-pack. One of our great supporters and sponsors, also a member of the Omaha Police Department. So great deal for him. Glad to take care of that. So we're going to have more chances as the shows continue throughout the next couple of weeks, and make sure you tune in each Sunday for your chance to win tickets to go see Monster Jam at the CHI Health Center. I believe those races are October 5th and 6th, 2-day event. Great fun to go to with the family. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in turn number 3. We're going to sit down with Tia and Brandon to talk about backing Brandon's spaghetti dinner that's coming up next Sunday, and what the impetus behind it all is, why it got started, and how it can benefit Brandon. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
The family with the 8-foot stainless grill is in. Bachelorettes hooting at the drivers are in. The tightwad dad doing a free parking fist bump.
Oh, yeah.
He's in. Nana with 6 speeding tickets. She's in. Cornhole aficionados and NASCAR newbies in and in. The Hollywood Casino 400 NASCAR playoff race at Kansas Speedway, Sunday, October 20th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. You in?
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing by the river bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 3, and it's time for another Red Oak Fabrication interview. I know the race season is getting over with, but there is no better time to start working on 2020's race cars than right now, and that means powder-coated chassis. Get more information about what powder coating can do for your car and how cheap you can get it done at Red Oak Fabrication by emailing Jordan F at redoakfabrication.com. By the way, bare frame, no powder coating, no sandblasting, just a simple, a bare frame, no sandblasting, just powder coating, $275. There's going to be a little bit more work if you need to get it redone and cleaned up, or any kind of parts and pieces. Just give Jordan a call today, or send him an email, jordanf at redoakfabrication.com. And joining us in the studio now, Tia Kosiski and Brandon Saltzman, who is a part of a benefit because Brandon has been diagnosed with a aggressive type of brain cancer. Not even going to try to pronounce that, and really that's just kind of details. It doesn't matter. Brandon, thanks a lot for coming in the studio.
Yep, anytime. Thank you.
And Tia, thank you very much also. You guys have put together this little fundraiser because obviously we know one of the worst things about living in today's society is that medical expenses are ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even want to begin to know what Brandon is putting into medical expenses right now. So
it's well over 500-some thousand. I still don't have my brain tumor removal surgery, so it's going to be up there. But good thing that I have medical insurance and all that, so I'm really thankful for that.
I hear you. It's wonderful stuff, that medical insurance. My bills are $85,000 a month.
Yeah.
So
no, yeah, it's I think the only thing that I have to pay is the insurance cost, which is $2,700 or something.
Yeah.
So I mean that's good that we don't have to pay out of our butts and stuff and just do everything like that. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a race car at that point.
Oh yeah, no. And I raced this weekend, and I can't thank the Kosiski family for everything that they've done for me, and what Mike and Courtney Brown have done for me, and what Jake Hopscheid's been doing for me. He gave me his helmet last week to wear because I don't have one with Hans device or something. So then, those are the people I have to thank really that got me to where I was.
Take me through it. Back up a little bit. You have been a part of the racing community for quite some time.
Oh yeah, yes. I've been around it all my life. I think I was at the track when I was 3 months old, and I was just sleeping in my mom's arms when she would bring me down to the pits and everything, and that's how it kind of all started. So yeah.
So who was mom and dad and you rooting for then?
Oh.
Everybody?
Yeah, I guess everybody at the same time. But she was also my dad was a part of Ed Kosiski's crew when he was back in racing.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. So yeah, he was kind of
Scott's your dad?
Yeah, Scott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know Scott.
Yeah. He was part of Ed's crew, and he was always the crew chief, and he always called the shots and stuff. So that's where he gets the shots from me. So that's I kind of give him some crap about that, but I was like, I'm not Ed all the time, so you just gotta lay off a little bit, and we'll get there. So yeah.
The dad and driver being the son is always a interesting dynamic for me because there's always that time like any son has to do, they got to branch out from their dad. And I think in racing it's a little bit harder than in most careers because especially if the dad was successful or had some success in some form because they know then. Yeah. But these cars have changed so much.
Exactly, yes. They've changed so much, and they've, kind of to where, you just sit there and you just let the car do the business, and you just got to sit there and wheel it a little bit. But, back in the day, they really had to drive them back in the day, so yeah.
Yeah, you talk about father and son in racing. To me, the biggest comedy show is Tracy and Cody Ledger.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
No argument there. You're absolutely right. I think that is a fun dynamic. I always enjoy that.
I definitely have to agree.
You've had firsthand experience watching that show sometimes.
Yes, I have.
God bless you for surviving that. But Brandon, how long ago were you diagnosed with this?
It was on June 20th of after work. I was actually supposed to go to the racetrack with her brother, Cale Kosiski, and I was kind of running a little bit behind, so I was just trying to get, inside changed, and then basically how it all started was I had some dizziness, and for the 4 months before that I was having migraines. And I was just, kind of letting it know. And then the month before I was throwing up on the weekends just one time and it was clear. And then, and then on the 20th of when I had the headache and stuff, I called my mom. I was like, hey, I'm having one of my headaches. What do I do? Do I go up and eat something or what? Do I take medicine? And she's like, well, just give it some time, go upstairs, eat something. And then as I was walking out the door to go to Cale's house, at my left side just went completely numb.
Oh.
And by the time my mom got there to take me to the emergency room, I was I didn't have any symptoms when we went there, and so they thought I was having a stroke. So then when we got there, we were at Midlands Hospital in the emergency room for less than 30 minutes, and then they rolled me out of a stroke in 2 minutes, and then before I even got back to the room from the CT scan, my mom was already crying.
Oh, geez.
And I don't know what, and she was like, well, we found a mass in your head. I didn't know what a mass was. I said, well, what are you talking about? And
you were confirmed you had a brain.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, so then he was like, well, you have a tumor. And I said, okay. And then they didn't show me any pictures until later that night. So then we were there. They said, well, we have everything at Bergen Mercy. We're just waiting on Emmanuel and see if that's where you want to go. And so I said, I'd rather go to Bergen, you know, how long till I get there and stuff. They said, well, we have a 3-hour transport wait, and you can't leave with your parents because of, you know, insurance of hospitals and stuff. So so they're like, well, we got a helicopter that's going to life flight you. I said, oh, okay. So then they told my mom to leave, and my mom still had to go get gas, and she still beat me there by 5 minutes. No. And then my dad was there too about the same time that my mom showed up. And then I landed at 6 o'clock at Bergen Mercy. They went up to my ICU room, and then got me like all hooked up to the machines, took me right back down to the MRI room, got more images, and then I did about an hour and a half of that, and then I did an hour of CT scans. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't get back to my room until like 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I was a little tired from that day. And but yeah, it's been a hectic ride because last year on the 20th of June is when I had it. That's when my grandpa passed away. So, and then I was 1 room away from his ICU room when he had surgery, when he had cancer. And then I was 10 away from his room in the 600s. He was 698, which is also my racing number, and I was like 688, I believe, too. So holy cow. I figured he was probably there with me the entire time I was in there. I was in there for 11 days, and yeah, it racked up the bill pretty high. So
wow.
Well, that helicopter ride wasn't cheap, but I'll guarantee it was a lot more fun than riding in the back of an ambulance. That's
yeah, it was pretty nauseous getting up in the air because I haven't really been in the air that much, and yeah, it was a little nauseous because they were kind of swaying back and forth, and it was like a 20-minute flight, and I think it was about 40,000 right there just for a 20-minute flight. So yeah, right there. So definitely.
Sorry, I could get off on such a tangent. That doesn't cost $40,000.
I know, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Exactly, I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry. So if your left side went numb, is it on the right hemisphere?
Yes, it was. I have a titanium plate right here, so that's where they thought it was, and he was, but no, they had confusion because they said it was the left side of me, but the tumor was on the left side of my brain. So they were confused on that part at the same time. But then, because on the images, they like reverse the images. So so if it's on the left side, it's going to be on the right side on the pictures. So then, it was really weird. I don't understand that. So
I would hope if somebody that does that every day would have known that.
Yeah. And it was funny. It was funny because
if I made that mistake, it wouldn't be so bad.
But you know that's why they like right, left, on your body part right before you go into surgery,
and they do
right?
that wrong,
they do.
too.
Yeah, I know.
And then it was really weird because right before my surgery on that Saturday or on that Sunday, the surgeon came in and talked to me about his procedure and what he's going to go through, and he told me on this side of my head he's going to cut like a rectangle. Mm-hmm. Well, he cut an M, and it's literally like it goes up and then it goes down and it comes back up and it goes back down on this side, and that's why you kind of see my discolor of my hair because I've been putting peroxide to like heal it up, and and I say it as a joke. I said after the surgery, I said he cut me open like a McDonald's Happy Meal because I got an M on my head, and so yeah.
Did you talk to McDonald's about a sponsorship at all?
I should have, but no, I did not.
That's the one we're working on next.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
You got a billboard going right there.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I don't know if I'd want that sponsorship. Maybe Macy's or something.
There you go. Yeah.
We'll find a different end.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you had the tumor removed yet?
Yes, I've had it removed, and I was supposed to do chemo and radiation, but then they sent my tumor off to a Brown University in Maryland or Rhode Island, I believe, and they switched it from, it was a glioblastoma, which is the highest form of cancer, and then they switched it to the PXA when they brought the results back and everything, so then I don't have to do chemo, I just had to do radiation. Wow. And then they thought they wanted to do like a post-op, and they said there was a planning on a second surgery. So then I was sitting there, and it was the day before I was supposed to go get my radiation done. And then they were sitting there, and they were like, "Well, the incision right here is infected." And then so they said, "Okay, so then we're gonna have to stop radiation." And I was supposed to do it at 9:15 that next morning. I was supposed to do that Monday through Friday or whenever. They said, so this is infected, so we're going to have to hold off radiation, basically. And so then I've been going through this process of wrapping my head and just like doing everything, but I really haven't, you see, I don't have a wrap this week because I was supposed to go tomorrow morning to see if I can get like medically like cleared and everything, so I can get my radiation process going. So definitely,
which is just, I mean, it's the radiation process. To my understanding, is just about the worst thing you can go through.
Yeah, that's
and
what.
I mean, they basically try to kill as much as your healthy cells, because with that they'll try to kill as many of the cancerous cells.
Yeah, definitely.
And God, you got to go through.
And it's also funny because when they switched from my glioblastoma to my PXA, a week later they found a cure for glioblastoma and I'm just sitting here like, of course I have to, they're switching my stuff to a PXA, but like
I had to get the upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they switched it from a grade 4 to a grade 3, so that's what it's been downgraded to. So it's actually a lot better, but a lot more rare that I have it. And they also said it's kind of like in the state of Nebraska, which I don't know if it's true, but they said that I'm the first person with the PXA.
Wow.
And they also said it in my age group for the glioblastoma, I'm also the first person with this in my younger years, because this glioblastoma is not going to be until I get like 50, 60 years old. Okay. So definitely, yeah.
Dan was talking about how bad the radiation, and I've got a mother that's just gone through bladder cancer treatments, had the bladder removed a whole bit, and chemo is actually much worse on your entire body than the radiation is, because radiation is localized.
Yes.
The chemo goes in your blood system, goes through your whole body.
Yeah.
Killing cells,
Yeah.
You got something done in your head, and it's killing your toes. Where radiation, they're just shooting at, they do a pretty good bullseye target on it.
The radiation, they, like, when they were fitting me for they like put it like a mask over my head, and then it was like a molding basically. So when they did that until like it like dried up or anything, and then I guess that's what they're gonna use. So it's gonna like go over my face, and they're gonna put like stuff behind the back of my head. So they said it's supposed to take about 30 minutes when it comes and stuff. So they said, you'll be good to drive home, but they said, we'll evaluate you because I haven't been to work in like 3 months.
Jeez.
And it's been terrible just sitting at home. And it also sucks because my grandpa, he was in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so my grandma was always gone. So then I had to take care of the dog and I had to do stuff around the house.
Right.
And everything. And it's just been a wild ride. So.
I think the toughest part, people always think that when you get to be home, like today, I woke up this morning and I'm like, boy, what I wouldn't give for a week off or 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
But when you got to be home 24 hours a day, that wears off really quickly.
Yeah. Definitely.
About that week is about.
Yeah, about that week. I would rather like take a vacation or something for the week that I have off. But now I'm sitting here for 3 months doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It sucks. But they said after the 2 weeks of the evaluation of the radiation, they said they'll evaluate me basically if I can go back to work or not. So.
Take me back to the radiation treatments. You said it's going to take about 30 minutes, and
30
you're going to be
minutes, yes.
awake during it.
Yes, I'm going to be awake for it for the 30 minutes, and they said it's just it's just going to be like if it's just like a heat pad on your head, or they just said it's just going to be like kind of like a heating pad.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you
6-8 treatments
for 33 days, so it's about
every day.
Every day, Monday through Friday, at a time that they
5
give
at
me.
a time.
5 in a week.
So about 7 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
6,
Yeah,
7
so it's
weeks.
about 33 days, so it's about 6-7 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks basically. So.
Good land. So back to the fundraiser and to the charity. Tia, kind of talk a little bit about how this came about. I mean, it's kind of easy to assume, but let's not assume and tell the story.
So Brandon's been a part of our family forever, absolutely forever. I've known him since he was born, and this is just something that I was really eager and excited to do for him, to help him and help his family with medical expenses and just kind of money for Brandon to, have, and since he's not working right now.
So you threw together a fundraiser, and it's going to be a spaghetti feed.
Yeah, so
we're
doing
a silent auction.
Yep, we're doing a spaghetti feed and a silent auction. The dates are September 22nd. It's a Sunday night, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to be at the Ralston Middle School.
$7 for adults, $5 for kids, $25 for families. Is that families for caps like two parents, 2 kids, or?
Yeah, anything. Anything over about 4 people. So we just want to kind of make it, a good, fun fundraiser. Yeah, discounted for a group, exactly.
What kind of prizes, items have already been donated that people can look forward to silent auctioning on?
So we are hoping to have a live auction as well going on. So right now we had a Chevrolet bench, Chevrolet tailgate bench donated to us by actually my cousin Robbie Kosiski. He handmade the entire bench, which is it's so cool.
Yeah. It's a Chevy tailgate is the back of the bench, and then the rest of it's been fabricated around that. It is really cool looking.
Yeah. And he made it all rustic looking, so fit into
It's old enough tailgate. It
Yeah.
probably rusted by itself.
He made the wood look
Well,
really. He made the wood
yeah.
rusty.
And the wood does look distressed a little bit. It's really
Absolutely.
cool.
We also have a Silver Dollar National signed helmet. I walked around during Silver Dollar Nationals and got all of the racers racing that night, all the late model racers, to sign the helmet. So
Right
that
up Dan's alley.
That's I own 2 of them. Now I might own a 3rd one. Great, glad you got that.
yeah, we
There
had
goes my paycheck for September, and I get paid the week before. Crap.
We had a kegerator donated.
Oh gosh, she's
Isn't that
talking.
awesome?
She's just,
I know. I'm talking right up your alley. We also had.
There's a paycheck after.
hello, Citibank.
No, is that going to be
I need
Malvern
a-
Bank?
Yeah.
Extend your limit on your
There
credit
you go,
card.
yeah.
Yeah. Creighton men's basketball season tickets were
Oh, wow.
donated, and then Nebraska Husker game tickets and
Okay.
a hotel night stay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten our list together yet. I want to look through our prize vault, but we'll get you a bunch of stuff, race used items and autographed items from local and national NASCAR drivers, dirt truck drivers. So we'll get you a bunch of stuff to give away.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
September 22nd, once again, Backing Brandon. The Facebook event page is Backing Brandon Spaghetti Dinner and Silent Auction. We're going to share it on the Fred Stretch Facebook page. September 22nd from 4 to 8. $7 for adults, $5 for kids, $25 for a family. That's a great deal. I mean, my girlfriend and I talk about when we go out to dinner, we can't feed ourselves for $25.
Even
And-
to
and-
adults, you
yeah.
can't feed yourself for 14.
Right,
So.
and we're not even benefiting a good cause. We're just lining some giant CEO's pockets. So I think we'd much rather come out to this spaghetti dinner. So Brandon, man, best of luck to you. You talked about you were getting out racing a little bit. What other races? Do you have any other on your schedule you're going to try to hit up?
We just for what we thought and talked about with her dad, Ed Kosiski. We talked about doing last weekend on Sunday, and then we've also talked about maybe doing the Cool 100 if car stays together, because it's also Micah's car. So I know Micah's going to race the next 2 weeks or something, or maybe just 1 week before that, and then it's the 27th and 28th, the McCool 100, and then I think the first night of the Cornhusker is what we talked about.
Okay.
So it's just it's just a matter if cars still together, or if they still want to do it, and so it's definitely up to them. So
Micah will be racing the Tiny Lund next weekend in
Okay.
Harlan, and then the cars for the McCool.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Any plans on doing T-shirts or maybe some stickers?
Yes, we have T-shirts in the works right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
T-shirts and stickers will both be for sale at the silent auction, as
Okay.
well as hopefully the Cornhusker Classic. So
Well, let us know. We're glad to promote it and let everybody know about it.
Absolutely.
And definitely let me know so I can make sure and talk about it on the PA at I-80.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tia and Brandon, for coming in. It's great having you guys on the show. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
Brandon,
you.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
making the show a little
Yeah.
prettier. I mean, we struggle with that on a weekly basis, so I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Your daughter's signing the finish line. She's in. Your grandpa air guitaring the pre-race concert. He's in. Soldiers saluting the flyover. They're all in. Fans holding their breath before a wreck. In. Drivers trash talking on your headset after the wreck. Definitely in. The Hollywood Casino 400 NASCAR playoff race at Kansas Speedway. Sunday, October 20th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. You in?
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
I want to say a big thank you to Kansas Speedway for helping us bring racing and race talk to the Omaha metro area. You can get tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 by going to kansasspeedway.com or calling 866-460-RACE, 866-460-RACE. Make sure you take care of Kansas Speedway. What a great event. What a great time. With it being an elimination race, the suspense is ratcheted up just a little bit more. And great venue to go watch a racetrack at, and we were thoroughly impressed with the racing action last May. This new aero package has really made that 1.5 mile track stand out over some of the other cookie-cutter 1.5 mile tracks.
Correct, and today being kind of one of those cookie-cutter 1.5 mile tracks out there in Vegas.
Yep.
And interesting that Clint Boyer wins the pole. And the first time since 2007, 431 races without a pole for Mr. Boyer. And the SHR cars took the top 4 spots.
This race last year, Brad Keselowski picked up the win. Kyle Larson came home second. Martin Truex Jr. third. Joey Logano fourth. And Ryan Blaney fifth. Eric Almirola, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, and Paul Menard with top 10 finishes. Because we're a little bit short on time, we're going to skip the Richmond race recap. If you want to get that, maybe we'll do some sort of an online thing as we get set for next weekend's show. But we're going to be live next weekend following the Richmond race, and we're going to get you set for all the action to come. I want to say a big thank you to everybody for contributing to the show, everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube for presenting Turn 4.
And a quick some prayers and stuff out to Zach Ralston, who lost a very good friend of his evidently here yesterday.
Oh.
And so, Zach, we're thinking about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for their support. Make sure you get out to Quaker Steak and Lube and Joe's Karting and support those that are helping us bring you local dirt racing conversation. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. We're going to be live next weekend on The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.